it's difficult for black to play. Now the knight is kicked. It goes back, and both of our plans, David, kicking the knight and bringing the rook in for white to attack this loose pawn on f6. Rook e1 next. The harmony is there from the white side. And now h4, it just looks even less potent because the knight is on the wrong square. This knight on the rim is dimming black's attacking chances. That rook needs an open file, not a pawn and a knight in its path, especially if all of these pawns start collapsing on the king side over here. I think that black is in some trouble.
Yeah, definitely in some trouble. And again, it's all about that momentum. It's all about the initiative. You want to kind of be consistent. You want to keep throwing things forward at your opponent. As soon as you step back, give your opponent time. Yeah, Magnus now reasserting control. And pawn to f3, that move I wanted to mention, it did lose a bit of the eval, at least according to the bar, but makes Magnus's plan even more simple. It makes the black knight feel really clunky, really clumsy, and big threats now hitting that black knight, kicking it to c8. I don't know what the rhyme is for the c8 square. We've talked about f8, f1, Robert. What's the rhyme for that black... I'm not going to call it a Steve, that black knight.
Yeah, that knight c8 might seal his fate. You're moving backwards when your whole plan was to unleash an attack. Where is that vicious onslaught? Where are you going after the white king? That white king, it's tucked away right now. And moves like h4 in the near future, I could probably just grab it as your knight is loose on h6. So there has not been this happy coordination of pieces for black. The ideas, they haven't been... kind of in combination with one another. And now white is the one who is first to the attack, carving out light squares, and only white has a light square bishop. If you play b6 here, there's going to be future problems on these light squares. If you take, you're opening up a file in front of your king. David, this is as unpleasant as a position can get.
Ugh, yeah, he does play b6 out of necessity more than anything there. And I don't know how he does it, Robert. Every game, win or loss, Magnus somehow installs a pawn on h3 or a6 or h6, just those alpha zero type of ideas. Magnus is obsessed and he gets a lot of success from it. Look at the white knight now. This is a real steed, a real stallion jumping forward, hitting the d5 pawn. And it does feel like black is already on the brink of collapse. I'm looking at the clock, I'm looking at the board, and it's all going wrong. Queen d7, he's just inviting white to play the move he wanted to last turn. Knight takes d5. What does he have up his sleeve? Magnus is just going to go a pawn up. Material, be greedy here. Why not?
Greed usually isn't good, but in this particular position, I think white can snag the pawn, and Magnus Carlsen successfully does. So the pawn is captured, and wow, what a move from Alireza. Knight to e4. Magnus, he doesn't seem particularly impressed. I don't think he believes in it, but what an idea from the 20-year-old player, Alireza Firouzja. He has disconnected these white rooks from one another. That means that queen takes e6 can be played if white just tries to grab a quote-unquote free piece. That knight on e4, it doesn't drop. And so, as I look at this position, it's becoming tactical, and Magnus, he wanted full control. Alireza says, not so fast.
Wow, Alireza, we mentioned it. He's zoned in. He's so focused on this game. He wants it more than anything, this victory. Knight e4, what a cool move. Just chaos button indeed pressed. We see the eval bar. Magnus, whoa, rook sacrifice on b6. I was going to say he can give up material in a bunch of ways. I did not see this one. He's given up rook for bishop here, or rook for minor piece, Robert, but that black king is so open.
What is the count? That move was given a question mark. It's a very difficult position for black. This move makes a lot of sense. But I'm just trying to quickly count the material. Black has 5 pawns. White has 7. So 2 extra pawns for white. White has this bishop here. Black has this rook over here. So it's 2 pawns and a bishop for a rook. That's about even in terms of point value. But look at the king's safety. Black's king, not very safe, especially after this move b5. This knight will hop back to b4, and then it will jump forward to c6 with a check and a fork. White's king is tucked away. So, David, it was a fantastic exchange sacrifice there from Magnus. He responded excellently to some stellar tactics from Firouzja. So both players are playing quite well. It's just that Firouzja never got his attack off the ground. He was sort of stuck in place, and Magnus has been able to capitalize.
Yeah, Magnus really showing class when it counts, when it matters. I love that 3-step idea, Robert. Pawn to b5, knight back to b4, into c6. That's just a winning concept here. The black king will not survive the wrath of that white knight. And okay, he's giving up pawns, Magnus. He's at least opening up the Black King even further, but he needs the breakthrough. Suddenly, we did that count, and things are getting dramatic. Magnus still down rook for bishop, but the pawns are dropping. Rook takes knight is a big threat. The white minor piece is a bit loose in the center. Magnus needs a knockout blow. Is that still retreating the knight back to b4? Is it trying to break the white rook into the 7th rank somehow? The recurring pattern of the rook on the 7th rank, always doing the business. Accuracy required. Magnus needs to stop, think, and calculate, because this is the type of advantage that's winning, but could disappear in one move.
It's no longer one-sided. Instead of just Magnus pressing forward, stealing a pawn, and playing safe, for example, rook to b1, Black will give up the queen down here to get that loose knight on d5, and we're talking about 2 rooks versus a queen. Now, White's king is still safer, so you should be happy if you're Magnus Carlsen, but not thrilled, because at some point, a knight to g4 will eliminate the escape squares for the white king. So we're going to see some imbalances. I think that Magnus, he needs to strike quickly. I just said rook b1. Objectively, it might be good, but I would be a bit uncomfortable by that choice. Can I throw anything else out? I want to get my rook to e7, but David, as you pointed out correctly, this knight on d5 is loose. These decisions are not easy for Magnus, who dropped one pawn and could drop another in the future.
Yeah, really not easy for Magnus. I think he knows that rook b1, objectively, he's still doing well. That position you highlighted, the queen probably better than the uncoordinated black rooks, especially because black's king's still a target. But in balanced positions, that's where Firouzja does thrive. And the longer it goes without kind of landing that knockout punch and failing to checkmate the black king, the more nervous Magnus is going to get. We see it in terms of his time usage here, down under 3 minutes. I'm still predicting rook b1, Robert, because there's no other obvious moves that call out. Knight to b4, maybe the kind of backup plan if you don't see anything better. But wow, c4, dynamite on the board. It's a pawn sacrifice. He's doing it the brute force way. There's another path in for the white rook, Robert.
I love that move because without pawns, you open files. So if that black queen took that pawn c4, rook c1 would have hurt. Now knight to b4, that move looks great. I mean, the c6 fork, we've already been talking about it. Now it hits the royal family. All of the pieces, the royal fork hitting them with check, knight b4, exclamation point, and that could be the dagger.
That could be the final touch. Black now needs to cover the c6 square, needs to hope that Magnus jumps in at the wrong moment. Rook to c8, strictly obliged. I don't see anything else at all. Otherwise, you resign. You get forked, and the game is up. But 17 seconds for Firouzja. He does play that move. The problem is the white bishop can move. Rook e7 is coming. Pawn to c5 will blow open more lines. White's queen can move, threatening knight to c6. It feels like something is crumbling. Look at that poor black knight. All of the rhymes we come up with that we talk about really kind of applicable, really relevant right now. Black's defending with only a king and queen. It's not going to cut the mustard here, Robert. It looks almost game over.
Knight on h6 ain't in the mix, and that's part of why Black is in trouble. And here, I like your c5 move a ton. It doesn't give Black the obvious response. It's trying to set up knight c6 check with some deadly forks and trying to remove the guard of the queen on a5. So Magnus Carlsen, he's sitting and thinking, knight c6 check, probably winning for white, but he doesn't necessarily want to rush it because if you start trading off too many pieces, maybe that gives Black some faint hopes of survival. He goes for it. The evaluation bar, David, it really tanked quite a lot here as Black can scoop up this a6 pawn. We'll have even material.
Wow, it plummets. Magnus, he knows he was winning. Well, he knew he was winning, but he cashed in too soon. And now, Robert, this could be a turnaround. It could really turn. The black a-pawn's alive. The black knight off the rim, off the h6 square. It's back in the mix. And, okay, one more move. I was going to say, if the black king came across to b6 into c5, Black would have been totally fine, but Magnus's pawn's still rolling. I think he's just about evaluated this correctly. He's aided by the fact Firouzja has no time. 7 seconds left. The pawns are running. Rook to e6 looks so strong right now, but Magnus, he didn't find the most incisive way. I think nerves are kicking in. The most accidents happen nearer the finishing line, and okay, could we still see this turn knight to d4? Magnus now, how is he going to finish? Whoa, Robert, a sacrifice.
We reacted the same time in the same way, giving up the rook because this pawn would promote. That was sick stuff from Magnus Carlsen because other moves would have given Black some chances. And Magnus, he played the move the blue arrow indicated. Perfect stuff from him.
Perfect play. Magnus Carlsen with a winning endgame now, but still how to push those pawns through. You don't want to get them blockaded on light squares. Don't allow the Black King to come over. First, he boots the Black Knight out of the center. And now, how to keep pushing. I don't think Black is threatening to take the pawn on c5. There will be a check with rook to e8. But Magnus ticks under the 1 minute mark. King to f2. He's doing it the slow way. He's trying to be slow and sure about it. But now a check, Robert, and White's going to make a new queen.
There was really no stopping the win for Magnus Carlsen. Alireza plays a couple moves, but you could tell that look on his face. He can't believe what has happened, but the game is